Welcome back to the Demon Slayer Gaming channel. Before we get started, go ahead and like the video if this helps you out, and subscribe to the channel so you know when I post the next one. But we're going to be continuing our Final Fantasy XIV Dungeons guide today, and we're going to be looking at Dzemael Darkhold. The trash pool areas in the first part of this dungeon does have a special function. First boss is flying around and will do a massive AoE that is only reduced whenever you are standing in the purple lighted areas. So you'll want to pull all the ads to the purple light area and take them there and kill them, so that you're making it so that your party will not take as much damage from when the boss passes through and does its big AoE. The last area for the boss will be a large room with many enemies in it that you'll want to pick up and pull to the light again. There will be also one ranged unit that you can, if you're lucky, interrupt correctly to get him to come also. Otherwise, again, just to make sure that you're hitting him with ranged abilities so that he stays on you. Then you will want to tank to this side of the little blue sphere so that either your healer or a caster DPS or a ranged DPS can stand in this sphere. You have to stand in these spheres for a certain amount of time to deactivate them. And after you deactivate this one and the one that's in the middle of the room, it's the only way to open the door to the boss. After both of them have been deactivated, you'll just follow the boss into his boss room. He has to fly into the middle of the room before he becomes targetable, so just wait for him to reappear and then pull him to the purple light. The only way to damage him is when he is inside of the purple light, and it will also reduce the amount of damage that you're taking from his big AoE. So stay inside of the purple light at all times. He will spawn adds in groups of 2 throughout the fight. The first 2 groups will be bugs that you'll need to pick up that don't do any particular abilities, so you just want to pick them up and AoE them down. The next 2 groups that spawn will be demons that have sights. They do a front conal ability, so you'll want to pick them up and tank them away from the boss. The boss himself does a front conal ability that you'll just want to move out of. After each 2 sets of adds, sometimes about 1.5, depending on the DPS of the group, the light of the crystals will start to fade, meaning that you will need to move to the next crystal group that lights up. So just look around you and see where the purple light is. It will not always be in the same location, so you'll have to keep an eye out and see where the next light did spawn so that you can move to that group. The boss will continue in this fashion with dodging AoEs and moving in between lights until he's dead. So just continue with these patterns and you should be fine. After the boss is dead, you'll click the Magitech transporter behind the treasure coffer to be transported to the second area. The next area can be quite difficult, so I would recommend taking it in smaller chunks than normal. Each of these areas has a large frog in it that can jump and does a large AoE that will push back anyone who is inside of it. And you're working on small platforms, so it doesn't give you a lot of area to move. Therefore, you can break line of sight on your healer quite easily. So I recommend moving in the groups to where you're moving to the next frog, essentially. So take the first frog with his little ad, and then take the next group of ads to the cave tunnel entrance with the next frog. Now moving into the cave, you will come across a group of 3 enemies that you'll want to pull to the next little outcropping and duck behind the wall so that the 2 ranged units come to you. With the next group, you'll want to do the same thing. There's only 1 ranged unit, but there's also a lava drake who does a frontal cone ability. So you'll just again pull them to the next little area right past the door. It'll cause them to all break line of sight and come to you. And this will bring you to the second boss fight with Talurd. Now you'll want to pick him up and face him away from the group, as he does do a frontal cone AoE. He also summons multiple ads that will stand on top of the ledges around the room. These ads are not targetable, so you don't need to worry about them in any way. They will initially start off by throwing fireballs that you'll need to move out of continuously. And then after this, they will throw undodgeable rocks, so it's just extra damage that your healer will need to heal through. And he'll rotate between these phases 2 to 3 times. He does have a single target tank buster ability that will do considerable damage to you and push you all the way back against the wall, but just use one of your tank cooldowns and it should be okay. After the boss is dead, you will again click on the Magitech transporter to be transported to the 3rd area before the final boss. In this area, you can handle it one of 2 ways. You can pull all of the ads towards the center of the room and AoE them down, and then deal with the crystals with the devices you need to deactivate. Or you can do it while fighting them. It's completely up to you, and if your healer can handle the extra damage that the crystals will do to you while you're deactivating the device. Once you deactivate both devices, the area to the final boss will open up. There will be 1 more pack of units in between you and the boss that consist of 2 drakes and then 3 skeletons. You'll want to pull them past the 2 crystals so you're not having to deal with the AoEs. You can stop in between or take them all the way past the wall and tank them over there. Either way, tank the drakes away from the group so that their AoEs are not targeted at them. The final boss is going to be Batrow. You'll want to initially pull him into the center of the room, face him away from the group so nobody else gets hit by his untelevised frontal cleaves. He does do a AoE around himself that is also untelevised, so your healer will just need to heal you and the ranged DPS through that. At 75% HP, he will target one of the corrupted crystals on the outside of the room, tethering himself to it and becoming immune to all damage. You need to go over and focus down the corrupted crystal so that he will become targetable again. While this is happening, he will pick one person in your party to focus on, and during this time will continuously launch beams of energy at them, so that party member will want to face themselves away from the rest of the group. It can target you as the tank, so just be aware of that. You'll want to position it in an area that it's not firing onto the rest of your team. When he gets down to 50% health, he will again go to the center of the room, link himself to another crystal in the room, and you'll need to repeat this process. And then when Metro gets down to about 35% of his HP, he'll target the last crystal in the room, tether himself to it, and repeat the crystal process again. After you have killed this corrupted crystal, Batra will get a damage buff on himself, and you will need to just burn him down. This will add a couple mechanics to the rest of the fight. One is the energy beams will be targeted at random party members during the rest of the fight, and he will also spawn void pitches on the ground that when stepped on will explode in a large AoE, so you just want to avoid standing on top of those. Due to the damage increase buff that he has, his cone AoE along with his surrounding AoE will do increased damage, meaning your healer will just need to heal through this. And that should be it. I hope this helps a couple people out, and I will catch y'all in the next one.